president of bushel-boy-farms. Chuck spent most of his career in the food and agriculture industries, including leadership roles at Pillsbury, General Mills, and Eagle Lab. In addition to marketing and sales and general management, he's led several initiatives related to e-commerce and sustainable agriculture and food safety. He is proud to support economic growth in North Iowa with the addition of the new bushel-boy hydroponic tomato facility in Mason City. Come on up, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Between me and the podium, we're going to try to successfully block your view of the slides at all time. So I'm chuck-tryon, as Chris mentioned, I'm the president of bushel-boy-farms. And what I want to do today is really talk a little bit about our journey to Mason City, a little bit about who we are, and then importantly, just some information about this type of farming, about controlled environment agriculture. So that's the plan for the next 15 minutes or so. And then go one more, please. So a little bit about our history. We're about a 30-year-old company, founded in Owatonna, Minnesota in 1990, really with the value proposition of delivering fresh, year-round tomatoes to stores locally. And that was really driven by the fact that at that time, about 85% of all tomatoes in the Midwest were coming from Canada and Mexico. So the business was formed with really that ability to do what you do in your gardens every summer. Allow the tomatoes to ripen on the vine and then get them fresh right away to consumers. For the last 2 years, we've been owned by a very large but relatively unknown to the general population company in Minnesota called the RAR Corporation. They're an agribusiness firm, family-owned, 6th generation, so 170 years in business. Quite a company, and I bring them up because it was really their involvement in Bushel Boy that led to us expanding and investing in Mason City. So a little bit about our legacy site. So in Owatonna, about 75 miles north of here, we've got 9 greenhouses. Most of them, 8 of them are interconnected. It's about 32 acres under glass. We've got a dedicated R&D facility that we're now trying new vegetables, new fruits, new varieties. Produce about 14 million pounds annually, mostly tomatoes, vine-on tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, snacking tomatoes. And then we're now in year 2 of a pilot to grow strawberries indoors. We've got a really knowledgeable team in Owatonna, about 100 people on staff. And then, as we think about the journey to Mason City, it started late in 2018, where we started meeting with local leaders, looking at sites, broke ground in September of 2019, and then proceeded with a $35 million construction project, proceeded despite COVID-19 during that time. So we had a few delays. I've talked to some people there. The greenhouse industry globally is really supplied with technology, equipment from the Netherlands in most cases. So we faced some difficulties and some delays, just given some of the shipping delays, bans on travel out of Europe. But I'm proud to say that facility now is almost complete. We're growing tomatoes. We've got a little bit more equipment to come in. We've added 45 jobs, actually approaching 50 as we get through this month. And then a total payroll impact to this community of about $3 million. A little bit about this phase 1. So what you'll see here on the south side of town is our greenhouse. It's about 16.5 acres. We'll be able to grow 8 million pounds of tomatoes. If my Indiana math is right, that's about 2.5 pounds of tomatoes for every person in Iowa. Indiana math, but it's close, okay? We've got a good team in place. We planted our first tomatoes about the middle of December. I'm happy to say that we're now harvesting those, and this is a big week for us. We're going to have product being picked up this week with this Iowa Bushel Boy sticker on those tomatoes, and so by the end of the week, you should start seeing Iowa Bushel Boy in local stores. A little bit of a photo tour of the greenhouse. So we grow in a medium called rock wool, so it's a spun rock medium. That rock wool sits on gutters. Those gutters hang from the ceilings, from the roof. And then it's supplied with nutrients and water through drip irrigation. All that water, that irrigation water, is recaptured, treated, and then recirculated in the system. So very efficient, very sustainable. We also use beneficial insects for all of our pest control, so no synthetic chemicals at all in the operation. And the plants grow almost a foot a week. So the photo here, if you can see it, you'll see some small plants. This was middle of December, right when the plants come in. We get them already propagated. They're about a foot tall. And then Clem, if you want to advance to the next slide. And then this is what it looks like as of last week. So those 12-inch plants from mid-December are now about 12 feet long, the vines. Each one of those vines has typically 8 to 9 clusters of tomatoes at different states ready to harvest and continue to grow. The vines are actually suspended from the ceiling by wires and clips. So we continually manage that crop. It's all the work is done by hand, so de-leafing, pruning, and harvesting is all hand done. And then a little bit about this space. Controlled environment agriculture, fancy new term for growing things in some form of closure. And what you've got here is just a little bit of that, the spectrum of that. On the left is the more traditional sort of plastic hoop houses, where you might see in a greenhouse setting. And then in the middle is this area called sort of under glass greenhouses. That's what our operation is, where we're controlling the vast majority of the climate. We're using both artificial and natural light. And then on the far right, you've got a more kind of emerging trend of true indoor farming, farming that's done with completely artificial light, so no natural light coming in. If you've heard the term vertical farms, that's one of the areas that fits within this area. A lot of leafy greens are starting to be grown in that type of setting. This last year has exposed a lot of things around the resiliency of the supply chain for food in this country. Controlled environment agriculture is one of the potential solutions for that, particularly given some of these facts that right now 50% of fresh produce shelf life happens in transit. About 40% of fresh produce is thrown away. This is 40% after it's been grown, harvested, packed, and shipped. So that's a significant number. And the reality is we do have people in this country that are lacking access to fresh, affordable, nutritious produce. And then a number of our key categories still are reliant on product coming from outside the U.S. And then just some of the advantages of this, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'll pick up a couple of them. One is from an organic standpoint. It's quicker to transition a greenhouse operation to organic status than it is an open field farm. From water use, greenhouses use about 95% less water than that same produce grown in open field. And then there's, it allows the product to be safer. So you have fewer people touching it, you've got less contamination that could possibly happen, and then you've got the ability to have more nutritious product. So that's just a bit about Bushel Boy, where we come from, what led our journey to Mason City, a little bit about the industry we're in. We're really proud to be part of this industry, be part of the solution of providing fresh, year-round produce to Iowa and the surrounding states. Importantly, we're really proud to be part of the Mason City community. So thank you for welcoming our company, welcoming me. We're really happy to be here.